Hey, welcome back to GSM Durango. I am Cody, and I'm so excited that you are in your squads. We are in week 2 of our series called Break Trail, and we're looking at some of the life of Jesus and how he lived his life and the things that he did. And what I want to do today is talk through how Jesus can connect with us, how he can understand us. But first, I want us to look at just him as a human being, okay? And just like you and I were humans, we have favorite foods, we've got favorite jokes, or maybe we have hobbies. But I want to know, for Jesus, what was his favorite food? Was it pizza? Was it mac and cheese? Probably not, but what was it? Did he have a favorite joke? Did he laugh a lot? Did he have any hobbies that he liked to do on his days off? Do you think he ever tripped and fell or stubbed his toe and had a ridiculous injury? Now, when we look at ridiculous injuries for our own lives, we can look at my ridiculous injury whenever I broke my back a year ago out here on the playground playing groundies. It was ridiculous. We can laugh about it today, but I spent 2.5 months in a back brace because of that. I can also think of a ridiculous injury from my favorite TV show, The Office, when Michael Scott steps on a George Foreman grill and burns his foot. Now, when this happens, he's not really looking for people to tell him what to do. He's not really looking for somebody to help him to get it bandaged up or to maybe, I don't know. He's not looking for that. What he's looking for is somebody to come to his house, pick him up, and bring him to work so that he could be around his friends, his coworkers. But he wanted there to be friends with him. He wanted to enjoy time with his friends, but none of his friends were willing to stoop to this level of your injury is ridiculous. You will heal up fastly, and let's not even talk about the fact that you have a George Foreman grill in your bedroom cooking bacon while you wake up. Let's not even talk about that part. But he just wanted his friends to care enough to want to be around him and to just give him some sympathy at least. Sometimes when we are hurt, people will try to show up for us, but it's not always in the ways that we want or what we need. But people might try to show up with a first aid kit and try to fix your problems for you, but I think we all know that a fix is not always as important as a friend. Sometimes when we're hurt, we just want somebody to pick up the phone, give us a call, send us a text or something, or just listen. Somebody to talk it out with us when we are hurt. Sometimes what we need is somebody that's willing to bring us a coffee from Joe's, saying, hey, I know you're in pain, I know that you're struggling, but let's talk it over, let's have some coffee, and they just bring it over maybe they come and pick you up and you'll go out for a drive, you drive up to the mountains and you just talk through things, and you can breathe, you can get away from tough situations. Sometimes when we're going through something painful, it feels like nobody understands. It feels like nobody understands sometimes. And when life is already hurting and people are adding to that hurt, and maybe they don't mean to add to the hurt, but the thing is that they don't always understand our pain. And it's not because they don't want to help or that they don't care. It's just really hard to understand what other people are going through sometimes. Although it's never easy to understand or to experience pain, it helps when we are not alone. And once in a while, a tragedy occurs that unites people in their pain, like when the world loses somebody that we saw as a trailblazer. Look, last week we talked about this term called breaking trail. It's a hiking term, and sometimes it's whenever you're going through a rough terrain or you're venturing into an area that has snow and you are paving a path for the people behind you to be able to get through easier. And we can see how one actor named Chadwick Boseman, you probably know who I'm talking about, he was an incredible actor and many people saw him as a trailblazer. Before his premature death to cancer, he was making the most of his career, not just for himself, but also for the next generation. And one thing about him is, as he was dealing with his battle with cancer, it was a private thing. Nobody even knew that he had it. He was visiting kids with cancer in their own hospital beds. And no one understood or knew that he actually had it himself, but he was able to understand their pain because he was going through it as well. And while his death was very painful for many young people who looked up to him as a trailblazer, we can also see how he is somebody that can understand our pain whenever we are going through something. And he was trying to make that relationship with those kids with cancer, and also paving the way for other young actors and actresses that were trying to break into the scene of acting. Easter Sunday is coming soon, and this means that all believers all over the world are looking forward to celebrating the day of Jesus' resurrection. But before we get there, it's important to remember the pain that came first for Jesus. Before Jesus' followers knew that they had this reason to celebrate his resurrection, they first had to deal with the loss of their friend Jesus, their trailblazer who was blazing new trails and showing them new ways of understanding what God is like. And look, some people and some of us, we think that God is this far away and unrelatable guy that just sitting up there. They see some God that is maybe he's able to solve our problems, but he's not actually somebody that can relate to our pain in frustrating times. But what I want us to see is that Jesus shows us that is not true. In Matthew 27, we see Jesus. He's already been betrayed. We talked about that last week, and he is going to the cross. Okay, he is going to be crucified and killed between two criminals on this cross. But on the way, he's being mocked. He's being tortured. He is being beaten. And we see Jesus, he is physically in pain. He is beaten with fists, whips, ancient weapons, nails driven through his hands and his feet, and he hangs on this cross where he cannot breathe. Jesus feels the pain of being insulted, where they are questioning his authority, his authenticity. They are gambling away his clothes. They are humiliating him. He feels this pain of betrayal when Judas betrays him with a friendly kiss. And he knows that what's about to happen is that Peter is also about to even deny knowing him. His closest friend in Peter, it will deny even knowing him. Jesus feels abandoned by people that were close to him. He feels the pain of seeing his loved ones in pain as well. In the moments before he took his last breath, Jesus sees his own mother in the crowd, who was unable to do anything except to watch in horror. Jesus felt the pain of being misunderstood. He was put to death by religious leaders and soldiers and everyday people who saw him as a criminal, somebody that was lying and was saying things that weren't true in the Bible. They saw him as a violent rebel. But in reality, Jesus was God himself on a mission to love and rescue each one of them. So the thing is that what we see in the gospel, in the Bible, is that God is not incapable of understanding our pain. Because Jesus, who is God, understands our pain very well. In the Bible, we see in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15, it says this: "For we do not have a high priest," and it's talking about Jesus, "who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in every way as we are, yet without sin." So we see how Jesus, as he lived on this life and he went through it, that he can empathize with us because he went through life just like us. Now, some of the trials, some of the struggles might look different in 2022 than they did when he was alive. But the thing that we can see is that Jesus understands our pain because he went through pain. He went through people mocking him, hurling insults at him, through people beating him. He is able to understand our pain and to relate to our pain and empathize with us because he lived on this earth as well. So he understands our pain. So today, what kind of pain are you feeling? Is it physical pain? Can you relate to some of the ways that Jesus was physically harmed by others? Or maybe like an illness or an injury or a disability that causes you pain? Jesus knows what it is like to experience physical pain. Maybe for you, it's emotional pain. If you've ever felt left out or forgotten, unwanted, Jesus has been there too. Sometimes people are cruel on purpose. Sometimes they're just really difficult and complicated. Sometimes people we love are hurting and we feel like there's nothing that we can do to fix it or to help them. No matter why you are hurting, I want you to know that Jesus knows what it is like to experience emotional pain as well. The third kind of pain that we might be able to relate to him with is spiritual pain. Maybe you're struggling right now because of a sin that feels like it has control on your life, or something that you've been dealing with that God has been telling you, hey, you need to stop that. If that's you, remember that Jesus willingly took on the weight of all of your sins so that you and I could have freedom and new life in him. Like, you don't have to do this life alone. You have other Christian friends, other Christian brothers and sisters that can do life with you. You've got a squad leader that loves you and wants to see you flourish in your spiritual life. And you have Jesus, who is willing to take on all of our sin and all of our disobedience on himself and pay the penalty for that. Look, my pain doesn't look like your pain, and your pain doesn't look like mine. Your experiences are different than mine. Sometimes it's easy for us to point our different fingers and try to decide whose pain is the biggest, but honestly, nobody ever wins when we operate this way. So what I want us to do is to think through how we can connect with Jesus in our pain. Jesus understands our pain, and sometimes it's hard to believe that. Sometimes we need to meet with another person who is at least trying to understand our pain. But what I want us to do in this reflection time, in this time, I want you to do a few different things. Number one, I want you to look to Jesus. Look, Jesus is a trailblazer whose path we can follow because he willingly chose to enter into our pain and to help us find a way out. Number two, I want us to press on together. Paul in the Bible, he talks about pressing on in his faith, but when life is painful, it can be difficult to do it alone. So we need each other when life is painful, and we need each other to help us to put an end to our old sinful ways, our own sinful lives, and we can't do it alone. So we have to be willing to share our struggles with our friends. We have to be willing to just work through that pain with Christian friends that are right there with us. Number three is that we need to pray with each other. When life is painful, or when we're struggling to move on from a sin that's controlling us, it can feel like we are the only one fighting that battle. But the thing is that Jesus stands with us in our pain, and we can stand with each other in prayer. So remember that we need to look to Jesus, we need to press on together, and we need to pray with each other and for each other. So as we finish up this message, I want us to remember that Jesus understands our pain, and we have somebody that we can look to, that we can follow.